Hello everybody, Thomas Fleming here. Well, it's a good morning. It's not really cool. It's just we had a little bit of rain. I don't know if it's completely done yet, so I'm kind of staying underneath the cover. I walked down here without an umbrella and it's probably over, but we have about a 10% chance all day. So anyhow, the good news is that I'm out here in God's country. I am inside this shelter, but being out here is an amazing place to be. There's my backyard. There's my front yard. How many people can claim to have all this acreage as their yard? Well, the rich that can afford to buy this much, or just those of us that take advantage of what God has put together for us. Okay. In these times, it just seems like it doesn't matter what we do. The world's going down the tubes. What are we to do? How can we handle it? Well, we don't have to. Don't take it personal if trying to get the message out, you keep running into failure after failure. You think it's a failure. God knows better. You're getting the message out. It's just not being reacted on. You don't know what's going to happen with the seed you planted until, later on, when we get to heaven and we see whether or not these people made it or not. Just keep planting seeds. You don't have to, if you're out there as a farmer and you're planting seeds, you're not having a discussion with the dirt. You're not asking the dirt to accept the seeds. You're forcibly dividing the dirt and throwing the seeds in and then covering it back up. If you're out there discussing the dirt, you haven't been a farmer very long. And some of us haven't got the experience that others have. There are preachers that have been preaching for 50 years that have far more experience than most of us. We can't compete on the experience level. But God is not looking for people with experience. He's looking for people willing to work in whatever condition we get. When we look at the world, there's darkness around us. So you seem like you're looking down a tunnel. And you see the light at the other end. Well, God shines his light into the darkness, but if the darkness is long like a tunnel, it may just be a pinpoint of light. Go to the light. Now, Satan would have you to believe that it's a train coming at you that's going to wipe you out. Maybe it is if that's what God wants, but most likely it's just God down there beckoning you to come to the light. Don't listen to Satan. He's full of lies. And you can tell who belongs to Satan right now when you watch the news or TV or whatever. You can see they are blatantly lying. They're not even hiding it anymore. Satan's not hiding it anymore. We're getting shows where we're seeing Satan displayed, get-togethers. You can't have a church group at a school, but you can have a Satan group at a school. It is so blatant. We know where they're going. They don't. If they knew, they would change. But they believe the lie. And you cannot tell them the truth that will overcome that until they get to the point where that lie becomes dangerous. And then there may be seconded. But if they're having fun, quote unquote, partying and doing all this other stuff on this earth, and they're getting rich and they're acting badly and getting away with it, you're not going to be able to talk to someone like that. The only way you're going to do is to just wait. And when they're lying in the gutter because they've made another bad mistake and this time they've lost everything. You might be able to reach down and help them up and talk to them. Maybe. Some people need to be below the gutter to accept Christ. But if the world's doing good, there's nothing you can really do other than just keep planting the seeds, and hopefully at some point in time someone will come back to you, as long as you're nice about it. Make the best of your situation. I do have a lot of theatrical background that I can pull into this, and I've got a story from Michael Caine, the actor. He tells a story that when he was a young actor working on stage, the scene was going on in front of the live audience, and if you know anything about stage, you have to learn to ad-lib because you don't know what's going to happen. You have your lines, you have the scene, but things can go wrong, and you have to be able to carry that. And if you're good at it, the audience won't even know that there's a problem unless they watch the show more than once. But he says he's backstage, getting ready to go on. There's a scene going on where there's a husband and wife arguing with each other, and eventually the husband picks up a chair and throws it. Now, I don't know if he's throwing it at anybody or he just throws it, but the bottom line is when he throws it, it gets stuck in the door on the side where Michael Caine's supposed to walk in. And they're about ready to wrap up the scene, and he's about ready to walk in, and he can't get through because the chair is stuck in the doorway. So he looks back at the people backstage, and finally someone says, "Use the difficulty." And what? What do you mean, use the difficulty? If it's a comedy, fall over the chair. If it's a drama, break the chair into pieces. Don't let it stop you. And that's the key. Whatever the situation is, use the tools, use the props that are there. Don't go out there and say, "I quit, I can't do this because it's not the way I expected it." God knew what to expect, and he put you there. So he knew that you were the best person for that. So use the difficulty. Now God has a covenant with us. He has never broken a covenant. Never. He's replaced one with another, but he's never broken a covenant. So we have this. So I'm going to go back to Jeremiah, and I'm going to read a verse here, but I'm also going to read a section of the commentary. I like reading those. So this is commentary on Jeremiah 31. Each of God's covenants could be boiled down to this: I will be yours and you will be mine. All of the covenants can be boiled down to that. Pretty much cut and dried, plain and simple. Well, in theory, but God's people wouldn't do it. They simply wouldn't stay away from selfishness and rebellion and idolatry, which we've talked about, and of course sin. It's not like the law was too complicated. Adam and Eve disobeyed one rule. Only one. That's all it took. It was just that God's people gave in to sin. Their minds and their will were not obedient to God's covenants. This is where we see the real comparison and the amazing mercy of God. He could have just walked away. He didn't need them. He doesn't need people. He desires people, but he doesn't need people. And he has started over before. He had given them more than enough chances. They hadn't just taken a misstep. They had willfully buckled, willfully chosen disobedience. God could have cut his losses and started over with new people. Or he could have just chosen to be done with humanity altogether, but he didn't. Instead, he acted the next step of his plan, a new covenant, thoroughly built upon love. God's new covenant would be unlike any others. Instead of requiring his people to come to his impossible standards, he would send someone who could. That someone was himself. Now I want to turn to Matthew 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it, and he gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Then he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to him, saying, "Drink it, all of you, for this is my blood of the new covenant, which was shed for many for remission of sins. But I say to you, I will not drink of the fruit of this wine from now until the day that I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." We will get to drink wine with God in his kingdom. And that's our covenant. Jesus died for the remission of sin, not the covering. He took all of our sin on him, all the sin that we did before and are doing in the future. All of it, he's taken it on and removed it from us, and it's gone. All we have to do is accept Christ, and we have to accept the options that we have, the future that we have that's built around God, with the provision that we are going to be holy at all times, because Jesus takes the sin. Every time we sin, give it to Jesus. It's gone for good, never to be brought up again. Now, there can be consequences to earthly sin that you may have to pay the price of, but the sin is gone from God's point of view. There's nothing too big or too small that we shouldn't be focused on if God directs us in that way. If we're not sure where we're supposed to be, then wherever you are is where you're supposed to be. God can use it. It doesn't matter. Every chance you get, talk to every person you can. Yeah, I know, those pesky birds are up there making noise. It's first thing in the morning. Now, just because they're ravens doesn't make them bad. God used ravens to feed Elijah, if you remember. So he can use good or bad for his purpose. So don't look at it and decide, well, this is a bad situation. God can't use this. He can. He used Pilate to be responsible for Jesus going to the cross. He didn't want to do it, but the people asked for it, so he let them have what they wanted. He used Herod to move Jesus out of the way for a little while, and then to bring him back at the right time. And he built a nice, beautiful temple for the people in hopes that they would think that that was a really nice thing to do and that we should love God. But they didn't appreciate it, and it was destroyed. There were people that were zealots, if you will, that were into doing what they were supposed to do. But there were others that were so into the law, it didn't matter about God. Who knows about God? We don't care about God. We just want to follow the law. They forgot what the law was about. We can forget what things are about. We can get off on a tangent. And all of a sudden, we're someplace we're not supposed to be, and it's like, sorry, God, I wandered off. Where do you want me to be? What can you do with this mess I've created? God's already got the plan. He just was waiting for you to wake up. Some in this world will wake up to what's going on, and that's why we're here. If there was nobody left on this earth that could be saved, we'd be gone. There's no reason for us to be down here. Heaven is a far better place than what we have here on earth. No matter how big and powerful and rich you are, heaven is better than what's here on earth. We don't need to be here, except for the people that are still left to be saved. Things aren't bad enough yet. But they will be, don't worry. This massive, massive earthquake, and I think it's up to close to 20,000 dead now. It's a wake-up call for those that set their alarm and are called according to his purpose. There are people whose names are in the book of life that have not realized it yet. It's our job to reach out to them. Talk to everybody you see. You don't have to carry on a conversation for 15 minutes. You can just say, have a blessed day. If they accept that with a smile, you've planted a seed. If you get the opportunity to talk more, talk more. Now, there are some people, I used to see people all the time that were doing things that they thought were supposed to be spiritual. And you try to get into a conversation with them, and they don't want to listen to you. They just want to tell you their belief system, which is totally wrong. And it attracts the world to look at them. I remember when I grew up in Reno, Nevada, at one point in time, I went to high school there. There was a guy that walked the main highway through north-south highway through town before the freeways. And he'd walk along and he'd wave at everybody. Well, I'm young. I'm working in a gas station, back where they used to give you service. Service with a smile. Wash your windows, check your oil. If you wanted to, they would check the air pressure in your tires. And they'd pump the gas, so you didn't have to get out of your car. For the good old days, huh? But he would eventually, as he was making his run, come into the gas station. And he'd sit and talk for a little while, and it didn't take me long to realize that he was totally off base. Him doing all that stuff and waving to everybody, it was glorifying him, not God. He was getting the attention, not God. And when he had an opportunity to talk about God, he didn't talk about God, he talked about him. But if I hadn't taken the time to talk to him, I wouldn't have known that. I was going to a really fun small church then. They had a group of guitar players and singers. The one thing in this life that I wish I could have done that I can't is I really can't sing because I can't keep it in my head. Yeah, I could memorize something, but I'm not playing music, I'm playing what's in my memory. Music and singing should come from the heart, not the brain. But it was fun. This was back during the 70s, I guess. I graduated in 72. And then I ended up going in the Navy and finally ended up in Southern California. So I only went back a couple times to babysit my dad when he was having surgery. So I was pretty much done with Reno at that time. But the seeds that were planted then from that small church taught me to really love being in small churches. Churches of all kinds and all sizes are all prone to have issues. You work with them, you deal with them, you contribute your part to it. We'd go out on visitations, that was fun. We'd go to senior centers and talk to the people there, that was fun. It was tough in the beginning, but you don't go alone. You go with other people that have experience and you watch them and you learn and then you try it. There's nothing too difficult. Nothing too difficult at all for God. And he prefers us when we don't know what we're doing because we're not in the middle of it trying to screw it up. Talk to as many people as you can, every chance you get. Tell them about God. Plant the seeds. Somebody made a comment today on the page. Why do you carry on this charade? Can't you just be decent people? We can do both. With God, anything is possible. All right. I guess, did I read my chapter? I don't remember. So this is where I get with God. I just let him go, and then I don't pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay, well, I don't remember if I read this or not. I don't think I did. I think I just read the commentary. So I'm going to go to Jeremiah 33 and read this. And We're actually going to get down to verse 3, but I'm going to start in verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah a second time, while he was still shut up in the court of prison, saying, Thus saith the Lord who made it, the Lord who formed it, he established it. The Lord is his name, making sure Jeremiah knew where the message was coming from. Call to me, and I will answer you, and I will show you great and mighty things which you do not know. There's the word of the Lord right there. Call on him, and he will show you great and mighty things. If you want to see great and mighty things, ask for it. We want and we don't have because we don't ask. Ask for it. Whatever it is you want. Solomon asked for wisdom, and he's considered the wisest man in the world. Ask for it. Now, you may have to do some things that you're not familiar with or comfortable with, but God won't give you anything to do that he won't also help you do. And he's right there. He doesn't send you off on tasks. This is not a taskmaster. Go over there and talk to them. No. With God, it's let's go over there and talk to them. He's always with you. All right. I got a little bit more of Armadillo Cam, so I'll throw that at the end. Be open to God. He's got more to give than you could possibly even receive, let alone think about it. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless. Okay, it's Armadillo Cam time. I am zoomed in. Let me see if I can get this to zoom back out. Come on. Yeah, I'm still here. This is a different one from the ones you've seen already. There we go. That's how far away he actually is. And the camera's not really good at showing how far things are. You can see my tent way back in there. And my car is here, so it's hard to get right up on him. There he goes. Yeah, he's not used to me yet. More Armadillo Cam. That's how close he is. Imagine that at 2 in the morning. I'm used to it now.